Right. So we are in organic chemistry, study of the nomenclature of organic compounds. In the previous lesson, I explained the rules of naming organic compounds. I think I didn't complete all the rules, about one or two rules left. At the end, I think the rule of having multiple oxidation and multiple functional groups is left. Let me continue from that point. And before I start on naming with multiple oxidation state, let me check whether your understanding is okay with naming a few molecules. I'll give you one or two molecules. Let's see whether you can name it. I think I explained about naming substituents. Even if the halogens are present, they are named as substituents, even though they are functional groups. And also, when there are more than one substituent, you have to use the alphabetical order, right? And the first step of naming, just to recap, is that you have to identify the longest chain, and the longest chain should contain the main functional group and maximum number of substituents, meaning attachments. And then you number the longest chain. And numbering the longest chain, the functional group attached carbon should get the lowest number. In the absence of functional group, the double bond carbon it should be given the lowest number. The double bond is given preference only in the absence of functional group. And the absence of both double bond and the functional group, then the first point of branching should be given the smallest number. Now, then afterwards, you identify the substituents, and you now name the substituents in the alphabetical order. If there are more than one substituent, then you have to use, if there are two substituents of the same kind, two substituents of the same kind, say two methyl groups, you use dimethyl, and number should be written twice. For example, second carbon has two methyl groups, we say 2, 2 dimethyl, or 2, 4 dimethyl. If there is 3 methyl, you use tri, number should be written twice. Likewise, double bonds, you use di, the two double bonds, diene, and two functional groups, diol, likewise. Number should be written twice. So let's name a few molecules before we proceed to the next rule. Let's see how you can name this one. This is C2H5, CH3, and then CH3 here, and C2H5 here, and the CH3. Can you please name this? Let me know once you're done. So first step would be the numbering. So this should be the numbering. Check whether you got the numbering correct. 6, 7, 8. That's the longest chain. Then you have to name the substituents. Identify the substituents. Label them as to the alphabetical order. Right. Let's see are they getting the answer correct. So you have chloro, ethyl, and methyl. So you have the chloro counts before anything. So this 4 chloro. 4 chloro. Then you have ethyl, which is 5 ethyl. 4,6 dimethyl oct, 8 carbons oct, 2,5 diene, and 2,3 diol. Check whether you got this right. Right? Got it correct? So I told last week to practice. That is, we draw the structures. I gave about 15-20 structures last week, and then write the name. And also I told to practice by writing the name and then draw the structure, right? So I hope you have done that. So if you can name this molecule, I think this molecule will have all the rules which we have discussed so far, right? Okay, the next is when there are more than one functional group. Let's see how to name it. That means, for example, you have, say, OH group, which is the alcohol group, and the carboxylic group, C double bond O, OH. Now, the carboxylic group has, when there are more than one functional group, you have to name them in the order of their priority, meaning the highest priority functional group should be named as the main functional group. Now, in the previous lesson, I explained the functional groups in the priority order. If you remember the first or second page, if you turn into, you will see the list of the functional groups, right? In that it says priority order. That means the top ones have a greater priority compared to the bottom ones. So what is meant actually by priority here is that the ones which are on the top, if you compare with the bottom ones, for example, carboxylic acid and hydroxy group, the carboxylic acid is on the top, right? So that has a higher priority compared to the functional group deoxy. So the higher priority, the molecule is always named with respect to the name of the higher priority one. So that is named as hydroxy. Sorry, the carboxylic, not as hydroxy. Carboxylic acid, the IUPAC name is oic acid, right? So when there are two functional groups, the higher priority functional group, the molecule is named as the higher priority functional group, and that the IUPAC name is given for that. And the low priority functional group, we give the normal name. So we say hydroxy for that. We don't say all, which means, for example, if you have, like, say, this molecule, say you have this one, a carboxylic group and OH group, right? Okay, so this is a very basic molecule. Let's name this 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So there are two functional groups, OH and the oic acid. So the oic acid has a higher priority, therefore this molecule is renamed as a carboxylic acid, not as an alcohol. So therefore the name of this will be first name, bute. Before bute, we have to name the substituent. So the low priority functional group is named as a substituent. Low priority functional group is named as substituent. So 2-hydroxy. There's an extra hydrogen here. That hydrogen, yeah. So this is 3-hydroxy. 3-hydroxy or hydroxyl bute 3-ene oic acid. 3-hydroxy bute 3-ene oic acid. So this molecule is named as oic acid because it has a higher priority functional group. And then the low priority functional group, we give the normal name. We don't name as all. The low priority functional group, we give the normal name, not the IUPAC name, right? Clear? Please copy this example. So I'll give you a molecule to name with all the rules which we studied so far. So if you can name that molecule, simply you can name any molecule. So that molecule will have basically all the rules we discussed so far, right? Uh, okay, let's say that you can name it. Of course, you won't get this molecule for the exam, but this is just to see whether you can practice what we did so far. Right, copy this slowly and I will, let me just complete it. This is a molecule. Let's see if they can name it. Well, let me know the name. Once you're done, just type the name, please. Right, so let's see who got it right. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. These are the substituents. So B comes before anything. So it's 3 bromo, 2 ethyl. Then you have 4 and 6. And before that, methyl hydroxy, H comes before that. X H comes before that, yes. So that H comes before M, right? So it is 5 hydroxy. 5 hydroxyl, and then you have methyl, 4, 6 dimethyl, oct, 2, 4 dienoic acid. So 3 bromo, 2 ethyl, 5 hydroxy, 4, 6 dimethyl, oct, 2, 4 dienoic acid. I know it's a long name, but if you can do this, you have understood all the rules, right? So it can be 2 diene, if there are 3 enes, likewise number thrice, and then triene, tetraene, likewise. So this is the molecule. If you can name this, you're done, right? Okay, so let's look at the naming of esters. That's the next level. That's the nomenclature of esters. So write the subheading, nomenclature of esters. Now, esters are molecules which has this functional group, C double bond O, O. If this functional group is present, it is ester. So that's the O8 functional group. It is also COO functional group, or I can say CO2 functional group, right? So on both the ends of the ester, especially this part, what is next to the oxygen, should be a R group. Now, when I say R, what I mean by R is alkyl group. It cannot be a hydrogen. It has to be an R group, which is a carbon-containing group. It has to be R group. It cannot be other than R. It can't be a hydrogen. For example, if it's hydrogen, then of course it will be a carboxylic group. So R can be methyl, ethyl, or propyl. So in your naming esters, now this is the O8 functional group. Let me just name a basic ester. Let's see how to name this. So in naming esters, the first step would be to name the group which is next to oxygen, right? The group which is next to O is named first, which is this group, methyl group, right? And this is named as a substituent, and that substituent has no number. And that substituent is named before any other substituents. There's no alphabetical order for this. And all the other substituents will come afterwards in the alphabetical order, but this particular substituent will be named before any name. So it's methyl, 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 right? That is next to O, and then there's 2 carbons, eth, carbon, carbon, single bond in, and it's O8. So it's methyl ethanoate, and you name it as there's no number for this methyl group. In esters, what comes next to oxygen has no number. And suppose if there are like ethyl or bromo or some more methyl groups with the attached to the main carbon chain, then those should be labeled after this methyl group. So in naming esters, there'll be one substituent which is named before any group and any substituent, and that substituent will not have any number. So that is the substituent which comes next to the O, right? So please copy this. I'll give you some examples to practice.